Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Night Owl. Today is Easter Sunday, and I want to say Happy Easter to all of you guys who are watching. And today we have an important show. I will be coming to you every single Sunday, no matter what. Doesn't matter what day of the year it is. But Happy Easter to you all. We do have an important show today, filled with a lot of different stuff. By the way, if you're new to the show or the channel, I just want you to know that this is the Night Owl Clan, where we host the Night Owl, the TV show, or the YouTube channel show. And eventually, we're going to grow it bigger and bigger, but we're just starting out. So if you're new to the show, just give you a little bit about what we do here, what I do. What I do is I want to provide a good commentary, a good discussion, a healthy discussion on what's going on in current relevant stuff in the media in the world today. And you are watching The Night Owl. I'm the host, Isaiah Jolly. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Today's first topic that we want to talk about is immigration and illegals. And immigration and illegals, let's talk about that, right? Nobody wants to talk about that because it's a hot topic, but we're going to talk about it. What's interesting is I find a lot of people are, saying things like illegals belong here. Illegals are us. Last time I checked, I was born here. I'm not an illegal, bud. That might be you. It's not me. Okay. No, it's not all of us. All right. And the funny thing is people are defending illegals so much, you'd think that they are one, or that they have one in their house, right? To give you an example, one of my buddies just got out of a relationship with his girlfriend who lives in his house, right? And it's funny because he's breaking up with her, right? And I'm like, bro, is she gonna leave the house? Is she gonna be gone? And he goes, well, I'm gonna tell her to leave. I want her to leave. I'm like, well, if it's your house, you should be able to ask her to leave. And she's like, well, she will. And then he goes, but, where we're at, there's laws. Technically, she's a tenant, and I have to, evict her if she doesn't leave right away. And I'm like, dude, you got to push her to get out, if you want her out, right? And the funny thing is he's like, well, I got some leverage on her. I'm like, well, what do you got on her? And he's like, well, her mom's an illegal. So I'm like, okay, so that's your method. If she doesn't want to leave, you're just going to call ICE on her mother. Granted, it's a method that does work, a little harsh, but it does work. So I just wanted to start off with a little something funny. I thought that was funny. I was like, bro, it is a method. But nonetheless, illegals is what we're going to be talking about, starting it off right now. And I think none other to start it off is the illegals that are born, right? But before we get into that, let's talk about where we begin at. And that's at the 14th Amendment, right? Everybody here know what the 14th Amendment is, because there's a big thing going on right now in the world today about the 14th Amendment. And if you're not, I'm going to go over it right now with you. And so the 14th Amendment was put in place back in 1868, over 158 years ago. And basically what it is it states that if you're born in this country, you are a citizen of the United States of America. This was put in place a long time ago because they wanted to make sure that slaves who lived in America were free men, who were citizens of this country, were made sure of that. That's why it was designed. And so basically what it states is, if you're born here, it doesn't matter how or which way, but if you're born on this land, you get citizenship. And so when it first came out, nobody intended any misuse of it. When it first came out, nobody looked at it like it was going to be a bad idea or that it would become a bad thing in the future. But it ended up becoming a bad thing in the future. And so what ended up happening is nowadays, people will come into this country through a boat or a plane or whatever, train, however they get in, right? And they'll come pregnant. And they'll have their child here in America, and because their child is birthed here, their child now gets citizenship. This is the funny thing, because it's not a one-time occurrence. This is a major thing that's happening. How it works is you get somebody that's getting plumped up and filled up with a baby, And her and her man take a trip to America on a plane. Oh, we're just going for a vacation. Great, yeah. By the way, how long you been pregnant? Well, 8.5 months, but we're just going for a vacation. Oh, I gotcha. Hey, no worries. Come on in. They come on in and they have the child over at your Memorial Hospital or your General Hospital or your county hospital. And what ends up happening is their child is a citizen. So now they stay here. And so this necessarily wouldn't be a big issue if it wasn't being abused. But we start to look at the numbers. According to Fox News, 320,000 children were born through undocumented, unauthorized mothers in the year 2023. What's interesting about that number is that's 9% of all children born in the United States in 2023. So nearly 10% of all children born in this country in 2023 were essentially born from illegals, which makes the child an illegal. But under our laws, it makes them a citizen. Here's why it's an issue. As we start looking at how many people that adds up to. Well, if 10% of each child each year is an illegal, and now you got 2 for each of those, well, now you start doing the math. It really starts adding up to being quite a bit of people. And so Trump saw this as an issue, naturally, as we all did, and said, I want to propose a solution. His solution was an executive order. The order is called Executive Order 14160. What's interesting about this order is the name of it's actually called, I believe the name is called Natural or Preserving the Nature and Preserving the Nature and something else to the effect of what it means to be an American citizen. I find it a little interesting, but yes, that's what it's called. What it does is it changes and alters a little bit of what the 14th Amendment originally does. So instead of just naturally saying anybody born in the country is a citizen, it says that anybody born in the country whose parents were citizens are citizens, or anybody born in the country whose parents are residents are now citizens. This is what's interesting about it is because it's a great bill. You start looking into it, and what it really does, it stops all of these issues that I just discussed and what's been going on, and how how us as Americans, as a people, are being iced out, crossed off of the population through population control, through immigration. But what it also does is it ends all these problems that we've had. So what ended up happening is there was a judge, a federal judge in New Hampshire, who shut it down and blocked it. Because of this block, it's now in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has to now review it and determine whether or not they're going to move forward with it or not. One thing that I found very interesting is who we have on the Supreme Court. Now, Trump appointed some really decent Supreme Court justices in his last term, but we still have a few stranglers that are cuckoo, or as one of my friends says, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? What's funny about it is we have a justice called Justice Jackson, who's on the Supreme Court. And during the review period of this executive order, she starts making an argument for that to remain the 14th Amendment the way it is and not accept the executive order. And her argument was based on what she thought was logic. And what that argument was that essentially if you are traveling to another country, you are now under a foreign jurisdiction. If you're traveling or if you're in a different country, you are now following those laws and you're held by those laws. And so if you get arrested, you go to their jail. If you do something wrong, you get the punishment and go to their courts for it. And she used this and called it an allegiance and said because of this allegiance, it makes sense that birth tourism should remain and continue, or that the 14th Amendment should continue as is. I thought this was extremely quite frankly, retarded. But I thought it was extremely stupid what she's talked about. The way, if you actually go and listen to what she said some of the stupidest arguments basically anybody could hear. And all it takes is a person with half a brain to realize that this person has no brain, and why is she even on the Supreme Court for this long, let alone ever being on it. The wild thing is that this is the same woman who back in 2022 said that she couldn't answer the question when she was asked, what is a woman? They asked her, what is a woman? And she said, well, I don't know what a woman is. They asked her, what is a woman? And she said, I'm not a biologist. I can't answer that question. But you're a woman, though. You are, in fact, a woman. I am. So how do you not know what you are? So you got to take what she says with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, as long as that she's arguing and presenting her side of the view to the rest of the justices on the Supreme Court, is a higher likelihood that they could swing that way. And why is it important that they don't swing that way, or whatever way that they do? Why is this decision important in general? Is because this is going to change immigration and nationwide citizenship. It's going to reshape the whole thing throughout America for the world with this executive order, majorly. And so the problem is you have people who are saying things like, well, this is a negative thing, this executive order, or they're saying things like, this executive order is racist. It's not racist, okay? It's not taking away anything that was in the executive order or in the amendment the first time, okay? What was actually originally meant for was the children of slaves to have citizenship. It was meant for Native Americans to have citizenship. It's not saying that any blacks won't receive citizenship in America. It's not saying any Indians won't receive citizenship in America. In fact, it doesn't matter what race you are or wherever your family's origins are. If you're born in this country, you'll become a citizen, even under this new executive order. All it's saying is that your parents had to be a citizen here or a resident here, which is an extremely fair thing to do. But we have, judges like the one in New Hampshire. He has a strange name. Honestly, I don't remember the name off the top of my head. But him, he blocked this thing, and because of him, we're dealing with these issues. So hopefully they can get this thing situated quickly, and they can render a decision quickly, because the longer it goes on, the more likely it becomes that they go in the wrong direction, which isn't going to be good for anybody in America at all. So I just wanted to touch base on a little bit about that so that you guys were aware of what's going on with that, because it's a major situation, and a lot of people should know about that. It's going to change a lot of things when it comes to citizenship and illegals. Because mark my words, anybody who's born in this country illegally, I don't care if you're born in this country, you're an illegal to me, okay? And anybody who wants to say things like, oh, well, that's not right, they're people too. They are people too. People that don't belong here, okay? What am I going to say if I own a house and I have people walking into my yard? Am I going to say they should just stay there? No. Am I going to say, well, my neighbor birthed her child in my backyard, so now the neighbor's child can play in the backyard anytime, and now they're in my yard? No. Okay? I got to fence up for a reason. We built a wall on the border for a reason. So no, that doesn't fly with me. Okay? So anyway, yeah, let's get on to the second topic so that we're aware of, another thing that's going on. Another major news event that's going on, which I think needs to be talked about, and we haven't talked about it in a while now, so I'm sure you probably already know. Iran. We're going to get into Iran again. We got to get into Iran just a smidge, because again, there's a lot of people who are on the side of Iran, and it is disgusting. It is mutiny, but we have to deal with it. We can't maul them in the streets. We have to treat them as human beings, as they are, but we have to go about it in a lawful and a strategic way. A person who is going about it in a strategic way is President Trump. In fact, he just made a tweet off of Truth Social this morning, early Easter morning, and let me actually give you the exact word-for-word tweet what he said. So this was posted this morning on Truth Social. He said, Tuesday will be power plant day. He said, and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump. And the little praise be to Allah. It's funny. It reminds me of Mike Tyson. There's no one that's like me. My style is impregnable. My defense is ferocious. I want your heart. Praise be to Allah. And that's what Mike Tyson did when he beat the crap out of one of his opponents, or when he was threatening to beat the crap out of one of his opponents and did. This is exactly what Donald Trump just did to his opponent, which is Iran. I got to respect the guy for what he's doing. You start to really look at what he's talked about and what he's doing. You don't have a president like him ever in history. We don't have a president that's ever been willing to put a stand on any of these things, like Iran, like the cartels, like Maduro, Iran, you know, that's a big one. So, but anyway, let's get back onto this. I think it's kind of interesting. So when it comes to Iran, and specifically the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of all the oil in the world goes through that strait. So as we're dealing with this thing, if there's a threat, or if there's a blockage or a stop to flow in that region, excuse me, what ends up happening is it rises the fuel costs pretty much everywhere. And so that's why you're seeing the fuel going up to $3.50, $3.80 for gas. Diesel, which I drive, is over $5 a gallon in some places. And these are temporary hikes, by the way. They're temporary hikes because they are going to be going down. And why do I know that they're going to be going down? Well, all we got to do is look at what Trump just said. Okay? He straight up said, open up the strait or your power plants go, your bridges go. Well, let's look at that. A power plant is their energy production. A bridge is their infrastructure. If they don't open up this strait, they're not going to have anything. And we've been working on regime change, is what some people want to call it, right? And maybe we can work with the new Ayatollah. Well, what the crazy thing is, the new Ayatollah is dead as a doorknob right now, so they're working on somebody else. But, you know, realistically, unless they can get this strait open, if we take down their power and their infrastructure, there's not going to be a need for any regime change. There's not going to be a regime. There's not going to be anything. There's not going to be anything to lead. And so at that point, I mean, if they don't give us what we want, I mean, we might as well just take the whole thing and call it the 57th state, you know, or whatever state you want to call it. I mean, I call it the 57th state is because it's this, you know, the seventh one that we're looking at, you know. In my book, I think it's a beautiful place, but we're not going to get into that conversation tonight. That's a rant conversation on a different night. But when it comes to Iran, right? 20% of the oil comes through that strait. Everybody's being squeezed on it. And you look at Israel right now, and Israel says things like, well, we don't want to help you in a ground war. No, that's not how it works. No, we're not playing that game with you, Israel. You will help us in a ground war, or you're not getting any of the oil. You're not getting any of the spoils. This is a war, and there are spoils of war. If you don't want to help us in what's going on, you're not getting any of it. And that goes for Israel, that goes for China, that goes for any country in Europe, because most of them all depend on this strait to get their oil. And we're not giving them a single barrel or anything unless they want to play ball with us. And so Israel, the way I see it, you wanted this war to happen just like we did. You better be in it all the way with us, or we're going to have a problem too. That's how I look at it. So, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to Trump, I just thought it was player and badass the way that he says things. I thought it was kind of funny. I think it really was a inside dig, not really dig in a negative way, but an inside joke on how Mike Tyson came out. Because he was close friends with Mike Tyson if you start looking at his career early on and things like that. And so, but yeah, this is going to get escalated quickly. Basically, Trump just said Tuesday. So Tuesday is the new day. And I listen to guys on the internet. Right now it's going viral. Guys like Sneaky or Sneeko. People like Nicholas Fuentes. And they're saying things like, we're being destroyed in this war right now by Iran. They constantly say these basically just blatant lies, misinformation, saying things like we're being brutalized by Iran. No, none of which has happened. None of which has happened. Nothing bad is happening to us for Iran. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We're basically destroying Iran completely. We've destroyed almost everything that they have. I mean, we've sunken every single ship in their navy. You got to think about that, for example, right? The first military pretty much in every single country is a navy. In fact, if you don't have a navy, you really don't have a country. You start thinking about it. You start looking at every country's got a navy. If you don't have a navy, you really don't have a country. We've sunk every ship in their navy. We've destroyed every plane in their air force. They still have drones, but we've now destroyed pretty much every manufacturing facility where they can build drones. So they have a few drones left. Way I look at it, no, we're not being hurt by Iran. We're hurting them. And we're going to continue to hurt them worse. Because right now they still have a regime. And they've been working on getting new leaders. Each leader that they have that's new seems to end up dead. And it's going to continue to do that unless they can play ball. And if they don't want to open up this strait, they won't have an infrastructure or energy. Without energy or infrastructure, and by energy I don't mean oil, I mean electricity, I mean power, I mean a power grid. And without that, they don't have anything. And so then we're really going to need to come in there and help them out. Then we're really going to need to go in there and fix things for them. So hopefully we don't have to do that. Hopefully they can play ball with us. I'd like them to play ball with us. But yeah, I wanted to give you a little bit about what's going on in Iran and what's going on in America with the courts. So, by the way, I just want to give you another update. Still working on some of the extra things on the show. We're going to be doing some changes to the show and some updates to the channel as far as how the videos come out. So be in tune for that. It's coming out soon. And again, if you're new to the show, I just want to let you know my name is Isaiah Jolly. This is the Night Owl, and together we are the Night Owl Clan. See you next Sunday. Good night.